If you don't know, I am a huge fan of the reimagined Battlestar Galactica series. It's like one of my favorite series of all time. I would say it's kind of the Lord of the Rings of TV shows for me. I just absolutely love it. And it's also, the showrunner was Ronald D. Moore, who was a showrunner on Star Trek, when Star Trek was good. And Ronald D. Moore has more writing capability than Alex Kurtzman has in his Pinky. So, or I'm sorry, I have that backwards. Ronald D. Moore has more writing ability in his Pinky than Alex Kurtzman has. There you go. That's my very non-eloquent indictment of Alex Kurtzman. So this is the Battlestar Galactica series Bible. You can find this online. Dude, if you are a writer, especially if you're thinking about pitching a TV show or something like that, this is excellent. And if you don't know, a series Bible is basically whenever you're pitching a TV series or developing a TV series, you sort of create a kind of encyclopedia of the show, and it basically describes the characters and everything. Dude, this is an incredible read. This is an incredible read. Okay, so I'll just give you a snippet, right? So this is after they had premiered the Battlestar Galactica miniseries, which is effectively the premiere of the TV show, but really it's a made-for-TV movie. And then the TV show picks up after the events of the miniseries. Okay, so this is the opening of the Battlestar Galactica series Bible. The fundamentals of Battlestar Galactica. Our show is built on the idea that a science fiction series can employ groundbreaking special effects, dynamic cinematography, realistic situations, believable characters, and explore contemporary social and political issues without sacrificing dramatic tension or excitement. The pilot delivered an intense, visceral experience to our audience, ratcheting up the tension steadily and efficiently over the course of 2 nights. And it is the task of the series to maintain that tense environment and bring viewers back week after week to experience the thrills and cliffhangers inherent in the story of a fugitive fleet on the run, one step away from destruction. To that end, our series employs a 3-tiered structure to maintain tension and suspense every week. By the way, folks, I'm showing this to you because this is what not stupid people do when they want to create a series. This is how adults produce good television, right? They do this kind of, this is what's called work. This is what's called work, right? This is the work that was done in order to make a brilliant series like Battlestar Galactica. So resuming with the quote. To that end, our series employs a 3-tiered structure to maintain tension and suspense every week, similar to the one employed by the classic TV series Hill Street Blues, but never attempted in science fiction. This structure lets us keep the pressure on our characters every week through the use of a long-term continuing storyline, while at the same time allowing for weekly standalone stories designed to hook in viewers who may not have watched last week's episode. The 3-tiered structure, explained in greater detail later, breaks down as follows. Number 1, series arcs. Number 2, multi-episode arcs. And number 3, episodic arcs. The series arcs run through the life of the show, and if you don't know, arc is a term that just means, I'm sure this audience knows, but basically it just means kind of the story, right? The basic story for the series, the story, the progression of the story for the multi-episodes and the episodic, right? So it's the progression of the story. The series from beginning to end. The series arcs run through the life of the show, dealing with the long-term stories, such as the Cylon pursuit of our fleet, while the multi-episode arcs allow us to spend 2 to 4 episodes dealing with a specific crisis, say on one planet discovered by Galactica, and the episodic arcs provide close-end narratives for each show, and giving any viewer a chance to watch this week's episode. Hello, Disney! Hello! Hello, Dave Filoni! Hello, D+. You need to read this. This is how you produce a series, you know? Open quote. By employing this structure, we gain the benefits of long-term storytelling. What is that word? Embroidering? On the existing tensions and situations in the premise, which have already hooked our audience, and thereby delivering a richer and more compelling experience to the dedicated viewer, while at the same time making allowance for hooking the more casual viewer who may not be familiar with the long-term tales but is drawn into the week's episodic storyline. The key to the success of this series is to never, ever let the air out of the balloon. The Battlestar Galactica lives in a perpetual state of crisis, one in which the Cylons can appear at any moment, and where terrorist bombs, murderers, rebellions, accidents, and plagues are the unfortunate routines of day-to-day life. There are no days for our characters, no safe havens, nothing approaching the quiet, normal existence they once knew. They are on the run for their very lives. This series is about a chase. Let the chase begin. Folks, that is an amazing mission statement. That is an absolutely banger mission statement for a series. This is 53 pages. This is 53 pages. So they start with the mission statement, right? Next, we have the 12 colonies. So Stormcrow, especially if you're out there, you were asking me a couple of weeks ago, like, how do you keep your character straight? I'm not saying you have to do all of this for a novel because this is for a whole TV series. Still, if you're creating a world, it could not hurt to do something like this. I'm doing something like this for what I'm working on, Galaxyborn. I'm actually using this as a template. So the 12 colonies, their history, their religion, their culture and society, their technology. By the way, I've read most of this and it's amazing. It's so awesome. The Cylons, their culture and society, their technology. This is my favorite part of the Bible. Character biographies. And remember, you asked that question, Stormcrow, about how do you keep your character straight? This is brilliant. This is a brilliant way to do it. Character biographies for Commander William Adama, my favorite character in the show, President Laura Roslin, Captain Lee Adama, Lieutenant Kara Thrace, a.k.a. Starbuck, played by the magnificent Katie Sackhoff, another of my all-time favorite characters, Colonel Salt, these are all my favorites, let's face it, Colonel Saltai, Dr. Gaius Baltar, oh my god, I love Gaius Baltar so much, Chief Galen Tyrrell, Lieutenant Sharon Valeri, and Caprica 6. They have a section on storylines, tension, structure, the Cylons, plot-driven stories, character stories, season 1, story arcs, and character arcs. So notice they have not just the story arcs for season 1, hello Dave Filoni, not just what's going to happen, but the character arcs for each character. This would have been helpful for characters like, I don't know, Balon, Admiral Thrawn. Think if Dave Filoni had this for Admiral Thrawn. And I'm going to show you William Adama's in just a second. It's going to blow you away. Okay. There's more. The Battlestar Galactica itself, its history, its combat operations, its flight operations, the CIC, maneuvering Galactica, damage control, enlisted and officers, faster than light travel, the Red Line. Everything is accounted for in this. And it's like 50 pages of this. Okay, let me read to you one of the character biographies. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because this is the work that idiots in the MCU do not do. This is the work that the writers of Secret Invasion did not do. This is the work that the Ahsoka series, Lucasfilm, is not doing. Character biographies, Commander William Adama. Adama was born and raised on the colony of Caprica in a small coast. By the way, not all of this is explained in the show, right? This is backstory. Not every detail in this is specifically shown on screen. However, and this is crucial, my dear sailors and starnauts, every detail that is in this backstory contributes to Adama's character in the show. You know, the objects you see in his quarters, the way he reacts in certain situations, the things he likes, the things that piss him off. These details, whether you hear about them in the show or not, play a role in how his character comes across. That would be the 3 layers I'm talking about. The conscious layer, the subconscious layer, the deep-seated layer. All the characters in Battlestar Galactica have all 3 in spades, okay? So resuming with the biography. Adama was born and raised on the colony of Caprica in a small coastal community. His mother, Evelyn, was an accountant, and his father, Joseph, was a prominent attorney who specialized in criminal defense and civil liberties. From his mother, he inherited a sharp analytical mind, and from his father, a passion for the law and the freedoms enshrined within it. Adama also grew up with a love of the sea and ships. Now, he never says this in the show, but in his quarters, he's always shown working on this model of a wooden ship that looks kind of like the HMS Victory. It's one of my favorite little things that's in his quarters. His parents divorced when Adama was 10 years old, and he shuttled between the two households until he applied to the Colonial Fleet Academy at age 16. That same year, the Cylon War broke out, and Adama's training was accelerated along with all the other midshipmen. You can tell Ronald D. Moore loves nautical maritime tradition. Yeah, he loves it. Adama was commissioned in 3 years and initially wanted to serve aboard one of the frontline cruisers. But by that point, the Defense Ministry had brought the first Battlestars into service, and there was a desperate need for pilots. 2 years of flight training would go by before Adama joined his first squadron aboard the Galactica. He was a gifted, natural pilot, and he shot down a Cylon fighter in his very first combat mission. But the war was winding down by the time Adama joined the fleet, and he saw only a few battles before the armistice was declared. After the war was over, Adama was mustered out of the service along with millions of other colonials as part of the demobilization process. He went home to Caprica and married his high school sweetheart and started life over. Unable to work as a pilot, Adama signed up as a deckhand in the merchant fleet and spent several years working as a common sailor aboard tramp freighters plying the shipping lanes between the colonies. It was this experience which would later give him uncommon insight in the lives and struggles of the enlisted ranks aboard of Galactica. He continued to reapply for a regular commission in the fleet every year, but to no avail. It was in this period that Adama met Saul Tigh, another out-of-work pilot, and the two of them became best friends. The birth of his two sons, Lee and Zach, brought some comfort to Adama, but he was still restless, still eyeing a return to the fleet. Eventually, his request was granted, and Adama put on a uniform once again. The remainder of his career was spent in peacetime service, moving between boring shore assignments and the more coveted posting in the fleet. He served in a variety of positions, but always jumped at any chance to get in the cockpit, maintaining his flight status right up until the end. At the same time, the return to service put too much strain on the marriage, and he and his wife divorced, leaving custody of the two children with her. Adama moved up steadily through the ranks and eventually began to command ships in the fleet. 5 years ago, he was finally given the command he'd always wanted, the Battlestar Galactica, the first ship he'd ever served aboard. By the time Adama got Galactica, she was being phased out of active duty and spending more time as a PR ship, but no matter. Galactica was special, and as Adama approached retirement age, he was glad of the chance to end his career aboard her. Adama kept in touch with his sons as best he could, but distance and the demands of the service being what they were never close. Although Adama tried to instill in his sons a sense of duty and admiration for military service, it was still something of a surprise to him when first Lee and then Zach decided to enter the fleet and become pilots. When Zach died during a training flight, Lee confronted his father at the funeral and laid blame for his younger brother's death at Adama's feet. Lee and his father did not speak for the ensuing 2 years. Adama is a bit of an anomaly. He is both a career military officer and a passionate civil libertarian. Adama believes in the military, believes it's a noble profession, but like his father, he's also a fierce advocate for the liberties and freedoms on which the colonies were founded. This duality in his personality have often put him at odds with the military establishment and has definitely held him back and prevented him from making admiral. He's a bit of a historian, versed in the classics from a young age by his mother, and views the world through the prism of the larger historical context. He's also an avid sports fan and a lover of the great outdoors, often spending his leave in remote wilderness and campsites alone. Folks, that is how you put in work on your story. This is before they are writing a script. This is before they are filming. And it goes like you've got President Laura Rosalind, 2.5 pages. Captain Lee Adama, 2.5 pages. Lieutenant Kareth Race. Dude, I'd love to read all these to you, but I don't want to bore you. I don't want to overstay my welcome. My favorite, by the way, is Gaius Baltar. Dude, Because interestingly enough, there are things Baltar claims. He claims he's a farmer in like season 4. Season 4, he claims he was raised a farmer and nobody believes him. And what's great about it is Baltar is such a pathological liar that we as the audience don't actually know if it's true or not. I even thought that when he says it, it seems tacked on. I remember thinking, I was like, that seems tacked on. Very convenient that in season 4, Baltar seems very sympathetic now that he's talking about his humble beginnings as a farmer. Folks, then I found this Bible, and check this out. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just this piece. Dr. Gaius Baltar. Gaius Baltar was born... This is before they wrote season 1, folks. Gaius Baltar was born and raised on a farm on the colony of Sagittarian. His family had worked the land for 3 generations, but even as a boy, Gaius hated farm life. One of his earliest memories is getting his boots stuck in a pile of cow shit and having to walk back to the house in tears in his stocking feet. Fortunately, his parents were not just simple farmers, but owned a large and sprawling agribusiness controlling millions of acres across the planet, and Gaius could eschew farm life for the study of science and math, disciplines which seemed as exotic and exciting as agriculture was boring and mundane. I'll never forget when I read that, folks. I was stunned. Because I thought that him being a farmer and his backstory was an afterthought in season 4. And it turns out they knew this about him in season 1. And it never gets brought up in 3.5 seasons of the show. Folks, but it's there. That's the point I'm getting at. It's still there, guiding his character, guiding the performance of James Callis, who's performing that character. As an actor, he has this to read and to go back on. He doesn't have to use every element in his performance at all times, but he knows as an actor that it's there. And I think, when Rosario Dawson is doing Ahsoka, she doesn't have this. People point out Rosario Dawson is a great actress. Why was Ahsoka so bad in live action? Well, because she doesn't have this. Not only does she not have a good script, I guarantee you, she does not have a series Bible that has anything approaching this level of depth. And it's so fascinating. It's like if you're asking yourself, how do I write a great show? How do I write a great novel? How do I write a great screenplay? There's your answer. You got to do the backstory work. And it's heavy lifting. It's not always fun to write this stuff. And it can be difficult because you often have to revise it and edit it. But to this day, what a great lesson as a writer to read that and to have in my head that they just kind of threw that in as an afterthought. But then I read that he was a farmer from the beginning, and it's a brilliant part of his character at the end of the story, I think. So hat tip to Ronald D. Moore. I mean, that is talent at work. And I saw that and I thought of Stormcrow and I thought of the rest of you, my dear sailors, because Stormcrow's always asking about this stuff, but I thought of all of you, my dear sailors and Starnauts. We are often asking ourselves, why do they keep making this trash? And obviously, the woke mind virus is a part of it because in the woke mind virus, as long as you're carrying the message, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's good or not. The shills are proof of that. But let's put that to one side because that's only one part of what's happening. The woke mind virus is sort of what let the fox into the henhouse, right? But is the woke mind virus the fox? I actually think the fox is mediocrity, laziness, just frankly incompetence, right? Because DEI is allowing people that have not done this work, who don't know how to do this work, and who frankly don't even care enough to do this work. It is what has allowed all of them to populate all of these texts. And of course, anytime they do a slipshod, crappy job, and they get roasted for it, and I have no doubt that many of them believe this when they say it. They say that I am the victim of racism. I am the victim of misogyny. I am the victim of bigotry because otherwise you would love what I did. Because this is about my lived experience as a whatever. Right? And it's no, it's because you did not do this work. It's because you did not tell us. You did not write a series Bible that told us every layer of this character. What was their childhood? I said this about Ahsoka, did I not? What does she want? Why is she out here? You know, the answers to those questions are there for Adama, right? Why does Adama want to be the admiral of Battlestar Galactica? Well, he grew up in a coastal town. He fell in love with ships in the sea. Galactica reminds him of that. He joined the military. Galactica was his first command. It was a special place to him. Yes, it's old and it's being aged out, but he doesn't care. He loves that ship. It's a great place to end his retirement. That's why he's there. That's why he's there. Dave Filoni cannot answer that question for Ahsoka. He cannot answer that question for Balon or Sabine. He cannot answer. Why does Sabine want to use the Force? Why? Because she wants to use the Force. That's why. You know what I mean? And then Jon Favreau. He cannot answer this question about Din Djarin. He cannot answer this question about the blacksmith. He cannot answer this question about Bo-Katan. So the reason that I share this with you is because this is what the work is. It is what it has always been. It is what it will always be. And we of the Iron Age, we need to be doing this work. And this is one of the reasons why, even though I may have my critiques with, for example, ISOM, I feel like some of the writing, the dialogue's a bit clunky. Okay, fine. But I can tell that the work that Eric July has definitely done is this work, right? Why is ISOM where he is? Why does he live in Flores Bar? Why did he give up the costume? Which, by the way, I love the answer to that question in ISOM number 2. He gave it up because he failed to save a life and he blamed himself for it. And he thought, I'm not really a hero. And he hung up his cape, so to speak. He hung up his tights, let's say. So my point is, I know a creator that's doing this work, and I know a creator that's not. I just do, folks. By the way, so do you. Even if you're not necessarily putting the words to it that I am, you sense it. You definitely sense it, because when you watch a series and you get that uncomfortable feeling of anxiety, this show's making me anxious. I don't know why. Well, I guarantee it's because they have not done this work. They have not answered these questions. Why? What is Ahsoka doing for the Republic? By the way, in fact, just to go back to this, not even just the characters. Look at this part. I love this part of it personally. The 12 colonies. Do you think? Serious question, chat. Do you think that Dave Filoni has the equivalent of this for the Republic, of the, let's say between the original and sequel eras, the original trilogy and sequel eras? Because he should have. There should be, for Dave Filoni, for the Ahsoka series, there should be a Bible, and it should have a chapter titled The Republic Between Episodes 6 and 7. History, religion, culture and society, technology, right? Whatever, politics. You should have the Imperial Remnant, culture and society. I would say there should be even more categories. Objectives, military strength, current operations, right? Character biographies, Balon, Ahsoka, who cares? Who cares? But all of them, okay? Storylines, tension, right? Where's the tension coming from with Admiral Thrawn? Structure. How will the episodes be presented? Will there be 2 to 4 episode arcs? Will there be episodic arcs? Will there be series arcs? Thrawn's troopers. The Imperial Remnant troopers, right? Season 1 story arcs, character arcs, both. What is the story arc for season 1? What is Ahsoka's arc? What is Sabine's arc? What is Ezra's arc? What is Thrawn's arc? Right? The Ghost. History. Combat operations. Right? Maneuvering the Ghost. Damage control for the Ghost. Yeah, remember that scene in Ahsoka when Hu Yang, the most valuable robot in the galaxy, now assigned to ship maintenance. And he's like, I can't ever forget about this. And Ahsoka says, "Oh, we're dead in the water. They are a sitting duck. They can be shot down at the pleasure of any of the enemy pilots," right? And what does she say? Oh, Hu Yang, repair the ship. What does he do? He goes to a panel in the cockpit and pushes some buttons or something. She goes out and uses her superpower of quick change, and she immediately becomes Space Ahsoka. She stands on the wing of the spacecraft and she fights the enemy. She fights the enemy fighters with her lightsaber. It's like that is the kind of stupid shit that happens when you don't have this section of your series Bible. It's like, how does your ship win fights? You need to answer that question. What will happen if your ship is stationary in space and 5 TIE fighters are mobbing it? What will I tend to think that sort of answers itself, but hey, not all of us can have the intellectual proficiency of others. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's super fun. That's super fun. We almost need to have that Ahsoka thing again, don't we? But I'm telling you, we do not have any of this work done for these new series. And at the end of the day, that's really the problem. So Wrangler says, I need to do this with one of my own characters. Yeah, totally, Wrangler. Like, seriously, I could probably link this file in the chat, in the Discord. I'll drop it in the Discord. I'll put it right there in general. Hang on one second. Battlestar Galactica Series Bible. And the Discord link is in the description of the video. I think I can send that. Yeah, there you go. There it is. Download it at your leisure, Wrangler. That's a great tool. By the way, Stranger Things also, you can find it with a Google search. The Stranger Things series Bible, excellent. Great read. Also a great template. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. In fact, I'm not going to look for it, but these are my 2 favorites. The Battlestar and the Stranger Things series Bibles are just... By the way, the series Bible of Stranger Things is how the Duffer Brothers sold it to Netflix. That's how they sold it. And if you are trying to pitch a TV series, that's how you got to do it. You got to have a Bible, you got to have a log line, you got to be able to tell them. And I wanted to highlight, let's see, what chapter is it in? Because I love the mission statement. That's so good. I think it's under technology. This is one of the more fascinating parts of the Battlestar Galactica Bible. I'm not going to read it all, just a snippet to give you a flavor of like how well thought out Battlestar was. Okay, so you know how in Battlestar Galactica, if you've seen it, the technology is very analog. They've got these phones with curly cords and just, stuff you would not have seen since the 70s. And you're thinking, well, how is this supposed to be a futuristic-ish society with space travel, but the technology is so dated? What's up with that? And they do have a couple of lines in the series that explain it. Check out the series Bible, though. Technology. Following the Cylon uprising and eventual war, the colonials had to forcibly remove any and all technologies that could be potentially subverted by the Cylons and used against the colonials. In practical terms, this meant the elimination of networking, defined here as the ability of computers to share data and talk to each other. By eliminating data sharing, the Cylons could not, for instance, introduce computer viruses to disrupt information. And they kind of go on some more in that. So in writing for the series, we should think of the colonials as using a blend of Apple II, current NASA space shuttle, and futuristic technologies. For example, Galactica clearly has flat-screen plasma TV monitors strewn throughout the CIC, but still relies on paper printouts that appear to be created by dot matrix printer on a continuous ream of paper. While the ship can travel faster than the speed of light, officers have to verbally go through long checklists with cadres of enlisted personnel, or while, rather, enlisted personnel flip through switches and press buttons in order to make it possible. A useful way to think about this is to take any piece of equipment and strip out its ability to talk to another piece of equipment. If your cell phone did not have access to a computer network, how efficiently could it operate? Could it operate at all? How do you design a navigational system for a spacecraft if the various components cannot be networked together? How do you design a fighter that relies more on human brain power to identify threats and make decisions than anything built in the cockpit? What do I always say? I always say that we nerds, we lovers of space adventure, We're curious people. Did you notice how in this series Bible, the writers are asking themselves questions? They're asking themselves questions. They're saying, how do you design a fighter that relies on human brain power, not network computers? We as the writers need to answer this question. I freaking love that. I love asking myself questions when I'm doing like brain power. I'm like, how does this character, how did this character get to this place in their career? Something like that. And I gotta answer it. Do you think that like the people planning out the MCU have done any of this? Do you think there's an equivalent of this Bible that Kevin Feige's got for the MCU? What are the odds that he's got this? He does not have this for the MCU. Folks, this explains stage 4 and stage 5 of the MCU. Like not just the girl boss stuff and the woke shit, that's part of it. They do not have this. They do not have this for the MCU. This should be a document, and it frankly should be about 200 pages. It should be 200 pages. They should have it in a file. It is in a locked box, and whenever they hire a director, Nia DaCosta, they hire Sam Raimi, Taika Waititi, whoever it is, they hand this MCU Bible to them. The Bible says, faster than light travel, how does it work? How many planets are there? What are the Kree up to? The Kree, religion, culture, goals, plans, military strength. Powers, technological powers, magical powers. What are their limits? How do they work? Dude, costumes. Costumes, Earth and public perception of superheroes. The Sokovia Accords and their effect. Which characters adhere, which do not. The giant celestial sticking out of the ocean. Current cleanup efforts. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't, and that should be handed to the director Nia DaCosta. And the rule is have fun, make your vision. It should conform to that Bible. Clear? Clear, sir. Fucking Bob Iger. Bob Iger. Oh, well, we did not have enough executive oversight. No, Bob. You dumb, you scumbag, lying corporate elitist. You politically scheming hack. You irresponsible, negligent business owner that you are. No, your problem is not that you are not overseeing your directors more. Your problem is you do not have a series Bible for your MCU. You do not have a Bible for the Disney vision of Lucasfilm Star Wars. You do not have this work done by competent people who know what they're doing. That is why you have lost billions of dollars on all of your failing, stupid, garbage content. Not because of toxic fans. Not because of any of that. Because you have not done the work. And because you hire, quite frankly, and let me put this delicately, stupid people. Like stupid, glue-eating people to write this crap. I can't even, like, Madam Web, I know it's not MCU, but still, it's the same people. It's the same kind of people. All these things, it's like, oh, gee, hang on, I got to steal this ambulance. Never mind that someone needs it. I've got lives to save. Oh my God, freaking, she's an EMT. She's an EMT. She robs a patient. She robs a patient of life-saving care as an EMT and a supposed superhero. And I can't help but think, like, you can't be a smart person and write something like that. You know what I mean? I know. I'm probably being an asshole. Let's face it, I'm being an asshole, but, you know, I own it. I own it. No, no other vehicles to steal. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, exactly. Dude, it's such a simple fix, though. If you're a writer, you don't have to like rewrite the whole scene. Just have it be that it's an ambulance parked outside a coffee shop and the EMTs are on break. It's still not great. I'm not saying I love the image of you stealing an ambulance for any reason. However, it's more justifiable that way. You know, it at least demonstrates that you have, you know, I don't know, human compassion. Human compassion. You know what I mean? How did these writers, they don't see it. Like they're such narcissists. They literally can't see what they wrote. They can't hear themselves. You know what I mean? This is how well thought out. Now, again, the Bible is not just about the story. It's about it is a guide for the filmmakers. It's a guide for the directors of the episode. It's a guide for the cinematography. Because as you can see here, they have a section, Battlestar Galactica, naturalistic science fiction or taking the opera out of space opera. Our goal is nothing well, skip that part. But anyway, visual. The first thing that will leap out at viewers is the dynamic use of the documentary or cinema verite style. Through the extensive use of handheld cameras, practical lighting, and functional set design, the Battlestar Galactica will feel on every level like a real place. This shift in tone and look cannot be overemphasized. It is our intention to deliver a show that does not look like any other science fiction series ever produced. A casual viewer should for a moment feel like he or she has surfed onto a 60 minutes documentary piece. So that's a cool part of it. But here's the part I really like, okay? Perhaps nowhere this will be more surprising than in our visual effect shots. Now, you know, my dear audience, you know how much I hate CGI as it's used today. Like, I don't hate it in principle. I hate how it shows up. Like Avatar The Last Airbender live action, garbage. Visual garbage. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, visual garbage. The Marvels, visual garbage. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Tuk Chase, garbage. Just volume, CGI, gag me with a spoon. Okay? Now, here's why. Because look at how Ronald D. Moore and the showrunners of Battlestar Galactica thought out the visual style of their show. Quote, "Our ships will be treated like real ships that someone had to go out and film with a real camera. That means no 3D hero shots panning and zooming wildly with the touch of a mouse pad. The questions we will ask before every VFX shot are things like, quote, how did we get this shot? Where is the camera? Who's holding it? In the cameraman? Is the cameraman in another spacecraft? Is the camera mounted on the wing? This philosophy will generate images that will present an audience jaded and bored with the same old, wow, it's a CGI shot. Dude, this is 20 years ago. This is like almost 25 years ago. This is being written. People were already getting tired of CGI in the early 2000s. Isn't this prescient? Is this not prescient? I mean, wow. So they say this philosophy will generate images that will present an audience jaded and bored with the same old CGI shot with a different texture and a different cinematic language that will force them to reevaluate their notions of science fiction. I will say, just me personally, I get a little annoyed by how they're taking shots at science fiction as a genre, and it's bugging me. This does bug me. And I do see this as the kind of innocent seeds of some of the more dismissive anti-genre fiction crap that we hear today about we need it to be for a modern audience. I'm not saying they're like woke or anything. It just bugs me. It just bugs me. It kind of reminds me of Halo when shaved head girl boss is asking about how fast the ship can go at faster than light, and butt-face Master Chief says, well, think of space as a ball of yarn. And she's like, shut up, you're boring. And it's like, well, what frustrates me is this is kind of the innocuous beginnings of that attitude, in my view. This is partly why the MCU humor is so bad, because there are a lot of talented, well-meaning creatives that have this attitude of like, ooh, genre science fiction, ew, gross. We need to fix that. And it's like, now, on the one hand, I take their point. I like that they're doing something new and different. I don't like the snootiness. That's it. However, that's kind of a nitpick. Resuming with the quote, our visual style will also capitalize on the possibilities inherent in the series concept itself to deliver unusual imagery not typically seen in this genre. This is what's called creativity. That is the inclusion of a variety of civilian ships. Each will have unique properties and visual references that will be in stark contrast to the military life. So I'm just going to close it there. But I wanted you to see in the Battlestar Galactica Bible that they literally said, this is how our CGI shots of space, right, Obviously, not real shots of space or ships. These are models or CGI. However, where is the camera? Is it on the wing of the Viper? Is there a cameraman in another ship who's getting the shot of the Battlestar? And dude, if you watch Battlestar Galactica, dude, it lives up to that. There are shots where like you can tell that you're sort of riding on the wing, like it's a wing mounted camera, because you'll be looking from the perspective of Starbuck's Viper, and you're kind of moving with the image, and you see the Cylon coming at her. It's badass. Then you'll see these great shots where you're sort of flying by Galactica, and the camera in a very documentary style will zoom in at like a close shot of like something on the hull. So you always have this feeling in Battlestar Galactica that they are always thinking through what they're looking for in the VFX shots. And if I have one serious complaint about that series, my complaint is season 1 was perfect. Season 2 was damn near perfect. Somehow when they got to season 3, I feel like they lost this a little bit, because the show was at its best when it was a military drama. It was a military space drama, and there were space battles with clever tactics, and this visual style was excellent. We should have gotten 7 seasons of that, if you ask me. I think we could have had 7 seasons if they had stayed on that track, right? But in season 3 and 4, they kind of went more in the direction of the political melodrama, which I did enjoy a lot of that, but they sort of stopped with the military action, and they swerved pretty much all into the kind of cultural and political melodrama of the show, some of which I liked a lot. But in any case, this is how professionals do it. This is how adults run television shows. This is why people like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, for whatever reason, I don't know if they ever had this ability to write this way, but they don't now. And I don't know why. So anyway, there you go. Hat tip to Ronald D. Moore and the showrunners, Antonio Graffia, one of the writers of the pilot. Great fans. They now work on Outlander. They are now working on Outlander, and it shows. And Outlander is a fantastic series as well. So hat tip and a captain salute to Battlestar Galactica, one of the greatest TV series ever made. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you loved this clip. Please like and subscribe. And did you know you can join us live every Sunday on the Captain's Cast live show? That's at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday. You can join me and the rest of the crew in the live chat as we set sail for more amazing adventures in entertainment, film, video games, etc. And until next time, my dear sailors and starnauts, this is Captain Garrett saying, I will see you out there.